Is Fort Worth or San Antonio right for your family? In this video, we're going to be sharing the pros and cons and differences between Fort Worth, Texas and San Antonio, Texas. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Dana Pollard and I'm a real estate agent here in Texas, and this is my husband Brandon Pollard, also a real estate agent here in Texas, and we've been on the hunt to discover the best cities to live in Texas, and let me tell you, have we got the scoop for you today. So Fort Worth and San Antonio do have a rich history. They have a lot in common, and I would say that many people are trying to decide between the two. They are both, they're more similar in price point than the other major cities. We're talking Houston, Austin, and Dallas. They're a little lower. So if you're a first-time home buyer, these are two great cities, but there's also some great luxury in both of these cities as well. So first off, do you have anything that stands out between the two for Fort Worth and San Antonio?
So if you're raising a young family, I think both are excellent cities. I lean towards Fort Worth just because the humidity is not quite as much as San Antonio.
That's true.
But there's some really cool entertainment places in San Antonio that Fort Worth doesn't have, and so I think Fort Worth will get there with some of the entertainment.
Yes.
And we'll talk more about that, right?
Yes, we're going to talk more about that. That is on the list. So let's talk about the population first. Now listen, San Antonio has 1.6 million people right there in the immediate area. Fort Worth has just shy of 1 million people. Now listen, if you look at the greater metropolitan area though, San Antonio is at 2.6 million and Fort Worth is at 6.8 million. So it feels maybe a little bigger in Fort Worth.
Yeah, so it's a larger area to me than San Antonio.
Now for housing, San Antonio wins for a lower median home price at $298,000. In Fort Worth, it's $328,000 for a median home price. Let's talk a little bit about the history. Now, as you go through both cities, you actually feel the history. San Antonio is known for,
I think, military and for the Alamo.
the Alamo. The Alamo is what I was gonna.
Okay, well.
He doesn't have the script. I have the script, but doesn't mean he's reading it.
Off the top of my head, I think military, but then if you go way back,
That's true though.
history,
You're right. You're
Alamo.
right on both accounts. In San Antonio, there's a very high military population, both active military as well as veterans. We also have a military base here in Fort Worth, and we have veterans here as well. It's just San Antonio has a greater reputation for that, right?
Sure.
And then the Alamo, for history's sake, is the big to-do. So when you are growing up in Texas, in the elementary schools, you were always studying
Remember
about
the Alamo!
the Alamo. So usually at some point in a child's life, they go down to San Antonio. Field trip to visit the Alamo. So San Antonio was known as the largest city in Texas for many years, and it's most known for the Battle of the Alamo in 1836, where this is where Mexican troops captured and killed the outnumbered Texas settlers. It was a starting point for the Chisholm Trail, with cattle drivers going all the way up into Kansas starting in 1867. Now, if you want a little bit of history of Fort Worth, go and watch the TV series 1883 and be shocked. Back then when the history of Fort Worth is, Fort Worth doesn't have a good reputation in history. They were known as some radical individuals. I mean, we're talking like...
You're telling me that cattlemen and cattle drivers weren't all churchgoers?
Right? But it was known for massive murders. It was known for prostitution, gambling. It was the true Sin City back in the day, right? Okay. So even though the history of Fort Worth maybe has a bad reputation today, it's a great family-friendly community. Next, we want to talk about food, because that's a big deal in our lives.
Come on.
Is where can you go eat? How do you feel like San Antonio and Fort Worth compare?
Okay, so again, Dallas-Fort Worth area, or Fort Worth specifically, has more of a Tex-Mex kind of restaurant. If you're not from this area, Tex-Mex is a little easier to digest. It's a little bit of maybe some northern flavors mixed in with some Mexican food. But in San Antonio, you're going to get more authentic Mexican food.
That's a good point. My favorite Tex-Mex is brisket tacos. That's not authentic.
That is absolutely no. You need
Tex-Mex all day long.
You need some pork,
brisket tacos,
some pollo. If it has an English name, it's not authentic.
I just thought since we're in Texas and brisket is like a Texan thing.
Yeah, so the tortillas are usually handmade, and I mean just everything is more authentic.
That's true. That's a very good point. But both cities have great eating, right? Great dining. Let's talk about the attractions of San Antonio and Fort Worth now. So San Antonio has the River Walk. Now, real quick, what do you think about the River Walk?
So I loved taking the kids. We actually sat right on the river at a restaurant outside. It was pretty enough. There's enough shade. You know, they've got fans going. This was during the summer, and it felt great. It was a great atmosphere. Lots of people there, and the boats are going along and just giving those tours.
Yeah, you can take a tour of San Antonio. They give you a little bit of history, right, on a boat ride.
Yeah, it feels very family friendly. Lots of places to shop. You know, just a lot of fun things to do in that San Antonio Riverwalk area.
Yeah, I did feel like there was more homeless population than I was expecting, that I was remembering, and it felt a little run down, I'm not gonna lie, and it stunk a little bit. So we're gonna move on though, because Fort Worth, did you have final thoughts on that?
I just think that in the time period that we went, you know, because of COVID, it was a little bit, there probably wasn't as much staff to take care of the things that we normally see in San Antonio.
Maybe. So Fort Worth, Fort Worth does not have a river walk, but it does have the Trinity River. I love going down to the Trinity River and riding bike. I also have little scooters now, stand-up scooters that I take the kids, and we love to go along the Trinity River. There's still homeless out at the Trinity River. It didn't seem as prominent in Fort Worth as it is in San Antonio. So also, well, just finishing up with the attractions, Fort Worth is planning on creating their own river walk. I'm really excited about this. So Fort Worth is coming up with a plan to make sure to control flooding, and they're creating their very own river walk. It's going to be new and fancy and shiny though.
Yeah, so Fort Worth does a really great job, especially in the downtown area. They keep it very, even though it's been there a long time, it's got a lot of history, they really keep it nice.
They keep that, okay, Fort Worth is my favorite downtown area. If you're going to visit downtown, Fort Worth is my favorite because it's the cleanest. And you know why? It's because it's privately owned by business owners. They literally own all of Sundance Square, and they take great pride in keeping it up. And so there are some homeless. It's not like other parts of homeless, but they kind of keep it under control. I don't know what's so different about Fort Worth, but it just feels much more safe. Like, I'll send my teenagers there and I feel comfortable.
Yeah, our church has done different things in that downtown area, and so it's nice. It's really a safe environment to raise family.
Yeah. Also for entertainment, Six Flags is about 30 minutes, or really, depending where you live in Fort Worth, 15 to 30 minutes from Fort Worth to Six Flags. And then in San Antonio, there's Fiesta, Texas, which is another Six Flags. And so you have your amusement parks, you have your river walks. Oh, but we can't forget the stockyards. The stockyards of Fort Worth, it's like nowhere that you've ever been. Where can you go, wear a cowboy hat and boots, and feel right at home?
Yeah, it's like stepping back into time. You're seeing a culture there where they actually take the cattle and drive it through like they used to in the old days. It's not as many, but they do have cattle that goes through every single day to kind of reenact what was happening years ago. And then also too, you've got steakhouses. You can buy your boots, your buckles, your hats, all the things that you need for Western wear is right there in that area.
Yes.
And you're going to eat great barbecue. You're going to eat great food. It's all Texas style, so the baked potatoes are going to be as big as your head. We just do things bigger in Texas. So, I mean, it's just a really cool place. And again, taking your kids, I really felt safe. There's a lot of security, a lot of police officers, a lot of places you can go that you really feel safe in that area.
Also, you're going to have your rodeos in both Fort Worth and San Antonio. I'm a little partial to Fort Worth because you can, you know, you're in the stockyards, you have the rodeo. It's just, the feeling of it's pretty cool. Now let's talk a little bit about jobs. Both cities have some great corporations here. San Antonio has USAA headquarters, Valero Energy, HEB. HEB is a Christian-owned corporation. It's a grocery store, and I love what they've done because they have built sport facilities. We went to a family camp by them. They just do things very, very well.
So Fort Worth does not have an HEB here.
They're building one.
They're talking about building one, but they haven't yet. And I've read the news, and it's a long way away. Because San Antonio has one, I would give them the favor in that.
Yeah, I would say so. Okay, Fort Worth jobs, we have Lockheed Martin. You got to tour that recently.
Oh man, it's incredible.
Yeah, American Airlines, Texas Health Resources, and Fort Worth has our Joint Reserve Base with 11,000 military and civilians.
So both Fort Worth and San Antonio are gonna have tremendous health care. If you need a specialist, you're gonna find it in both cities. There's thousands and thousands of people that are employed by the healthcare industry.
Also, Texas is known to have some great schools. Both Fort Worth as well as San Antonio have some districts that are really good. Now, I would say the inner city districts are not high ranking on test scores, but if you look around the suburb cities, if schools are important to you, Texas has some great options for you. Both cities, San Antonio and Fort Worth, I would say they're comparable. All right, let's talk about final thoughts on San Antonio versus Fort Worth.
I think really job opportunities are very equal in both cities. I think that raising children or raising a family they're both creating great atmospheres. I think for me, because the humidity is so much in San Antonio, if I had a choice, I would choose Fort Worth. Yeah. But both are really complementary to one another.
Yeah, so when it comes to weather, that's probably the biggest difference, I would say, as well. So it gets humid both in Fort Worth as well as San Antonio, but every time I've gone to San Antonio, which has been many times, it's like, I would have to get used to the humidity in San Antonio for sure.
Okay. So if you're doing a video and you're trying to keep a microphone from falling off with sweat, San Antonio may not be the place for you. Right. Is that just too gross to talk to you guys about? Because
we were there at the peak of summer last year.
You cannot stand in the summer or go to an amusement park and stand in lines. That's either city as amusement parks.
I wouldn't go to Six Flags near Fort Worth and Arlington either at the peak of summer. Just avoid it. Just trust me.
Well, we're getting old.
So tell us in the comments which city you would prefer to live in, Fort Worth or San Antonio. This has been a highly requested video, so let us know in the comments below what you think. And if you are looking at buying a home in Texas, fill out the Dream Home questionnaire in the link below, and we will see you on the next video.